Hi, welcome to an early Sunday morning video from the gun room. This is probably going to be quite a controversial video because everyone's got their own opinion on this one. It's the age-old question, 177 versus 22. As you can see, I shoot both calibers in a wide range of pellets and a wide range of uses. And I've shot them FAC, I've shot them 12 foot-pound, I've shot them in rimfire in 177 HMR. And 22 subsonics, doing a whole wealth of pest control over many years. And each calibre has got its pros and cons. You can't say one's better than the other because they're not. And with the CP2 video, someone touched on the thing about their 177 can do what a 22 can do. And fair enough, it can in certain situations. But in other situations, there are various things that do make quite a big difference. And with the pellets, cost is one consideration. 22 pellets are a lot more expensive than 177 pellets. So if you're only target shooting, plinking, there's a big cost saving there. But on the flip side of that, when I'll be out doing pest controls, each calibre has got its own pros and cons. If I was shooting crows and pigeons and things, I probably would go for a 177 because you want the penetration to get through the feathers. And plus crows and that are bloody clever. They can sometimes actually jump the sound of the shot of the gun if you're shooting at a fair distance, so you quite have to aim above its head and it flies actually into the pellet by the time it gets there. And a 22 is too slow, like equivalent, like I say, a BSA R12 CLX Pro, which is a run-of-the-mill average sort of gun. In 177 that's doing 770 feet per second at the legal limit. In 22, 590 feet per second. So that's quite a considerable distance of speed that something can jump the sound of the gun. So in that situation, I probably would use 177. If I was out shooting rabbits at 35 to 50 yards, I'd probably shoot a 22, just the fact it impacts so much more energy into the target. And there's less chance, because rabbits, even if you shoot them in the head, they've got a habit of kicking themselves back down the hole just with the last bit of nerves that are left in their nervous system. And with 177, they can penetrate, it will kill the rabbit, but it won't kill it instantly. And it can kick itself back down the hole just with the nerves. With a 22, that doesn't seem to happen quite so often. But also, there's efficiency comes into it. 22s are slightly more efficient ballistically. So go back to the BSA R12 again. In 177, it would do 400 shots on a charge. In 22, it would do 440 shots. Just the fact that it doesn't need quite as much energy to do exactly the same thing with the bigger calibre. The Air Arms S510 is the same. In 177, it does 90 shots. In 22, it does 100 shots. Both exactly the same power. Just a 22 being slightly more efficient can get a few more shots per count. Not a massive difference. But if you go for something like a Brocock Ghost, or BRK as they like to call themselves now, 177 version of that, 120 shots in 177, 130 shots in 22. But that's at 12 foot-pound, the UK legal limits. When you go to the FAC ones, it's a whole different thing. The 177 one, the maximum power you can get out of them is 42 foot-pound of energy. In 22, 88 foot-pound of energy. So that just shows you the difference, because there's a limit to what you can get a 177 pellet to do. It will go too quickly, it just disintegrate, it will start tumbling in the air. With a 22 being a little bit bigger, a little bit more ballistically coefficient, more efficient, almost double the power. Then you take the next step up to 25 calibre, obviously in FAC, 95 foot-pound. Then we go to 30 calibre, which is basically 7.62, 129 foot-pound. And that is, they're all being charged for exactly the same pressure. It's just a different efficiency of the heavier pellets can carry the inertia better over a longer distance. So there's pros and cons to both. So the 177, you've got penetration. 22, you've got impact. 177's got an advantage of being a very slightly flat trajectory. So if you're doing target shooting, you can be a little bit more off with your estimation of where to aim, sort of thing, because obviously the pellet is far a lot flatter because it's lighter. But on the flip side, I've had it at long range when I used to do my field target shooting. A lot of the knockdown targets at 50, 60 yards. Sometimes 177 wouldn't have enough energy to actually knock the target over. You could see it actually hit the disc and it'd rock it, but a 22 every single time it would knock it straight down. So ammo costs we've already mentioned before. And 177, this is probably going to upset some people, at lower power settings is better. Like all the BB guns are 177 for a reason. Because the 22, you'd just be like firing a mortar. So target preferred 177, hunting I prefer in most situations 22. So rats and rabbits I'd always shoot with 2.2s. Pigeons and crows I'd always shoot 177. And with going to the live firing guns, obviously 177 HMR, I've had instances on cold frosty nights with them, with actually a frozen blade of grass is enough for the bullet to disintegrate just hitting it. They're going stupidly fast. With 2.2 subsonic, it can be raining, windy, nothing really affects them. Both zeroed at exactly the same range, and the 2.2 subsonic, obviously been a lot quieter as well, was my preferred bullet. But then the 177 HMR, if I'm shooting something at long range, it's almost got twice the power of a 2.2 subsonic. And it's flatter, but it is very, very noisy. So, with things like the Victory CP2, when I said to my RFD about it, so I'm not overly fussed on calibre. I'm shooting at 10 metres with it. And I'm actually quite glad he did get the 177 version, just the fact the ammunition is quite a bit cheaper. It's only a plinking gun. It could do some close range pest control, but that's not what I'm going to use it for, because you can see I've got a whole range of other stuff which is far, far better suited to doing that. So that's what I would use for that sort of stuff. But most of my pistols, a lot of the military replica stuff, is all 177 BB, because it's much lower powered, it's flatter shooting, it's cheap to use, it's good fun. So they've both got the pros and cons. I don't prefer one thing over the other. It's just because years ago when I first started out my airgun journey, I wasn't rich enough to have a different gun for different things. You probably can't see up the top there if I grab it down. Ugh. When I was quite successful in the 1990s with my target shooting, I actually won 3 back-to-back field target championships, only at club level. I'm not that good a shot. So it was 1998, 1999 and 2000. But I've got a spook here. I actually done that with a 2.2. That was a BSA Super 10, which is I've still got over there. Because at the time, I couldn't afford to have 2 guns, and I hadn't got my firearms license at that point, so I was having to use one gun to do all my pest control work and all my target shooting. And because the trajectories of the 2 calibers are so vastly different, say 50 yards, you're probably looking at 2 to 3 inches difference between a 2.2 and a 177 where you aim. And what I've done when I was getting used to that, now there's ballistic software that can work all this sort of stuff out for you. I used to set targets out every 5 metres and just keep shooting them. I'd be zeroed at 35 metres. I could lay all the targets out, and then I could actually draw myself a little graph, and I could work out at what distance, where to aim higher or lower sort of thing. So there's no point in having a 177 and plus I couldn't afford 2 calibers to do the work. So I got used to using a 2.2, and that's how it's basically stuck. The majority of my guns, full power ones, are 2.2. I think over there's only 2 full power 177s. My Air Arms S200, which wasn't built for me, it was actually built for an ex-friend who didn't want it in the end because they reckoned it was too expensive, and even though I built it to exactly their specifications. That's a 177. And my Edgar Brothers XV2 is a 177. But apart from that, that's the only 2 full power 177s over there. Everything else is 2.2. And that's not for any great reason other than I've just got used to 2.2s. Sometimes when I'm down the gun club, a 177 would be preferable sort of thing. That's why I do take the XV2 down there quite a lot, especially shooting at very, very long ranges. But on the flip side, the gun club is an old sand quarry, and if there's any more than 10 mile hour wind, all you're doing is wasting lead, because the wind comes over the top of the quarry, comes down, it swirls around every direction. We've got range marker tapes out at 10 metres, and you can see them blowing in different directions over 100 metres going down the range. And the 177 is more affected by wind. So on a calm day, the 177 will outshoot the 2.2s down there. But on a windy day, which is most of the days down there, a 2.2 is slightly easier to shoot. But other people that only shoot 177s will have a better idea of where to aim than I have, because I don't shoot them that often, so they can probably outshoot me down there. So it swings and roundabouts. One isn't better than the other. There's no way of saying, oh, 2.2 is better than a 177 or 177 is better than 2.2, because every situation is different. It's what you prefer, it's the conditions, what you're doing with it. So I'm bound to get some pretty hateful comments from people that have done various things with various calibers. This is just what I've found with my guns. So hopefully I've sort of opened up a little bit of why some of the things I say in some of my videos I've said sort of thing. And 2.2s are just a little bit more efficient. And years ago, when I first started shooting with my Super 10, which was my first PCP, all I'd got was a stirrup pump. And that extra few shots that the 2.2 could do was a big difference when you're pumping up the stirrup pump. I don't know how I do it. Also, I was a lot younger and fitter back then, but it's so easy using something like this or a diving bottle now. Stirrup pumps are bloody hard work. And bearing in mind, when I was in my competition shooting, I was probably shooting 1,000 rounds a week. That's a lot of pumps on a stirrup pump, charging them up. I couldn't afford a diving bottle back then. There was no local gun shops anywhere near me that could charge a thing up, so a stirrup pump was the only thing I could use. These sort of things weren't around back then. These are quite a recent addition, these cheap Chinese pumps. So hopefully that's touched upon it. I bet there's going to be some various comments that people are going to make on it. But that's what it's all about. It's all part of the sport, isn't it? Everyone's got their own opinion. Everyone enjoys different aspects of it. And that's why I love shooting air guns. I'm not overly disappointed I don't shoot firearms anymore now. I do miss things like the 303s and that, but it's a whole list of regulations and rules and bullshit that I don't need anymore. Air guns are for everyone, and I love them. So thanks for watching. Hopefully that shed a little bit of light on bits and pieces. I'll just show you a closer look at these pellets, because I do shoot the same sort of things in every calibre. We've got the Hades, the Air Arms Diablo Fields, the Jazz Bees are for everything, the RSs, they're super lightweight, the Barracudas, a little bit harder lead than everything else, the Gold Stars and the Green Stars, which are now my preferred lead-free thing, the cheapies like the Marksman, and the VMX pellets, which are quite a cheap pellet, but actually a really well-made pellet when you can find them. So hopefully everyone's found that a little bit interesting. A quick little glimpse of the guns. Don't know what I'm going to be doing today because it is horrible, horrible weather out there. It's wet, windy and disgusting. But thanks for watching.